Yeah, I got some on my nose.
Damn it, Kevin.
So, Julie,
Yeah.
I have a confidential question for you. Yeah. What do you think the odds are that they're going to start by just singing that goddamn song again?
You know what? I think the odds of that are low. Here's why.
Really? Oh, okay.
I'll tell you why. Last night, Neil went over to Kevin's place so that he could watch a couple of episodes of season 1 that he had not seen, and those 2 episodes were Wentworth Prison and To Ransom a Man's Soul.
Okay, but did they go back and watch any of the fun ones?
They only they went back and watched the first one. So I think that they're both feeling a little awkward in their manhood right now.
Okay.
But if they do, that's awesome.
Do you think then they're going to sing like Indigo Girls or something instead?
Oh my God, we can only hope.
I figured we would call them back in, and then Janine would say, go, or something. I don't know what you say. You say something. Or you nod. I don't know what you do. I've only been doing this for almost a year. A year?
Something like that.
Almost. We'll have to do an anniversary episode.
We're pretty close to that.
Anyway, we'll have them come back in, and we'll just sit there and wait for them to start.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Are you cool with that, Janine?
I'm just going to follow your lead.
Okay.
All
We're
right.
just going to see what they do.
Okay.
All right. It's an experiment. Mm-hmm. Okay. Guys, we'll be right back.
Finally.
Man, takes me back every time.
Takes you back to the last time we did this?
Yeah, no, to my childhood.
Wow.
Walking around the streets of Van Buren, Arkansas, just drinking 40 years of Old English.
All right, so I guess we're not getting introductions. So this is
Yep.
so
No,
an
we got
awkward
this.
way
We
to
got
start.
this, buddy.
No, then we can just do whatever, right?
Yeah, here we
All
go.
right, talk about back
Welcome
when you
to
were.
Dudelander.
Welcome to Dudelander. This is Kevin.
This is Neil. We're here with Janine.
Hey! Oh, Jesus Christ, Kevin. You almost hit me in the face.
Janine and I are sharing a mic today.
So
I'm gonna hit him in the face.
And this is going to be the season 1 Dudelander recap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're gonna find out what all the things that dudes think about season 1 of Outlander, which is what all the fans are clamoring for. But what do men think?
Just yeah, I don't even.
Okay.
That was good.
Julie and I were curious as to first whether you were going to sing again, and then second,
Again,
If
you
you-
mean?
as you did last
But
time.
we haven't sang.
Yeah, I
yet.
guess it depends on how you're listening to this. Like if you're going through, there might be a special treat if you get to Dudelander
Yeah, well,
season 2.
if you haven't listened to the first Dudelander yet, spoiler alert, they sing in it. And by that I mean the Dudelander for season 2. I don't know, time travel is complicated.
The point is, we're awesome at it.
Yeah. What I didn't expect is that first you would talk about open carrying 40 of Old English, and that then you would point out the hypocrisy of our entire concept for this episode. That was surprising. They've introduced themselves. I'm Allison,
Sorry, I'm Julie.
and this is Podlander Drunkcast, an Outlander podcast. As you've already heard, it's the Dudelander episode because everyone is clamoring to hear what the men think.
I put out a tweet about this yesterday, and I got exactly one response. So, like, it's at an all-time fever pitch out on the streets.
Kevin, who responded to you?
Boy, howdy, it was none other than Julie Starbird.
Yes, it was.
Oh my God, my baby's so grown.
I did not get an embedded GIF, and I'm very upset about that.
I didn't feel it was gift worthy.
I think it's pronounced jive.
Nope.
I think
Jive is right.
having that
Jive is
conversation
right.
again.
I've also heard jive.
So, for those new to we'll just call them fun and games. Dudelander is when Neil, Julie's husband, and Kevin, who is not my husband, or really my anything but my good friend, and he's only that sometimes.
Yeah, it's like a partial, it's a half
semi?
time.
Like,
yeah,
it's right there.
It's like a will they or won't they, but without the will they.
yeah.
So we'll call it a won't they. No, I guess they
They
won't.
don't.
They don't.
won't.
It's a they won't.
they don't.
It's a they won't.
Good. Don't.
They wouldn't ever. we get these two fellas on to talk to them about their thoughts about the series we know and love, RuPaul's Drag Race. Just kidding. Sneak preview. No, the general gist is that Neil kind of likes it. Kevin pretty much doesn't, although he's pretty stoked when boobs show up.
I think, well, that's in anything. Like, if you showed me an episode of Wings and boobs showed up, I'd be the biggest fan of the episode
But
of
what
Wings.
if they were the old woman's boobs?
Done and done.
Okay, question. What if it wasn't a pair of boobs, but in fact a character named Boobs? Or a pair of characters each named Boob?
Are you saying that in season 3 of Outlander, there's a character named Boobs that shows up?
Actually, the name is Boob McGee.
Boob McGee!
And Boob McGillicuddy, the boobs.
The boobs together.
Okay, but they always appear next to one another.
They do, but one of them is usually pointing in another direction.
No, I still don't like the show.
Fair enough.
So the last time we did this, we talked about season 2, although both of the gentlemen had seen either most or all of season 1. The all in this case is actually Kevin.
That's right.
And now we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to touch the standing stones, caress them, if you will.
Maybe up and down a little
Just
bit.
a little.
Not too much, though.
yes.
Don't want to get raw.
No. Maybe.
It's going to get raw.
Will it?
Oh, will it? Okay.
So I guess just talk.
Gentlemen, take it away, please.
I was really hoping for some structure on this.
Oh, we can give you structure.
Will help,
But we figured we'd start fast and loose.
Well, Kevin and I actually got together last night and did a rewatch because there were, not a rewatch, but there were 2 episodes. I had not seen the final 2 episodes of season 1.
And I had never wanted to watch them again.
Right. As I found out,
Welcome to my life.
after having watched them alone in his bedroom together by himself the first time, not
Wait,
together.
yeah, not at all together. I really want to clarify that. I
Not
watched
together.
them the first time
Alone.
in my bedroom.
Right.
Because I didn't want to subject my roommate to also watching Outlander.
And last night we watched them together in front of a roaring fire.
A roaring fire, just 2 gentlemen.
Yep.
Separated
Outlander.
by a weird piece of furniture that shouldn't be a separate, but is a separate.
That's a weird piece of furniture.
It was a very weird piece of
All
furniture.
right. Let's.
And then we needed to watch one more episode, so we actually watched the pilot. So that works out really well as you want to start from the beginning.
A very good place to start. So let's do that then. We're gonna have 2 of these episodes. Last time we intended to only have one.
Yeah.
We got hammered and took a break for beer and then came back. That will probably happen again. Yeah, Janine's all right. Janine has reconciled himself.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin brought me my own Old English this time. So.
Welcome to the club.
Oh, my God.
It smells so bad.
You're not supposed to smell it. It's not potpourri. Just drink it.
Oh God, can you imagine if it was in like a little heated dish?
Doesn't get better as it gets warmer.
I spent my entire day talking about Stephen King stories, and there's one of them where a guy drinks a bad skunked beer and turns into a blob monster.
On the couch, right?
Yeah.
He's all gray. He's the dad that doesn't move from in front of the television.
Yeah.
I remember that story.
Gray matter. This would be a good time to say maybe you could listen to The Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast from Consequence of Sound. I'm sober in that one.
The selling point.
Take that as you will. Maybe it's a selling point, maybe it's not. It's a good show. The other people say smart things. I mostly go, God, isn't it time to start drinking yet? I want to start by asking you gentlemen this. If we're looking at the first half, I assume we will split these episodes roughly in half.
That's
Okay.
what we were talking about.
Right? So, what's Outlander about?
Kevin?
Oh boy. What is Outlander about? Well, it's a.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah. I was getting to a point. I was driving to it slowly. I was getting there though. No, go ahead, Neil.
So it's about a British World War II era nurse who is on a second honeymoon, they call it, with her husband in the Scottish Highlands. And also they do it a lot. And then she travels back in time. And then she's stuck back in time and she meets another guy and she decides she wants to do it a lot with him too. And they get married and strife and doing it.
I would say that it's a show about traveling through time and falling in love under the backdrop of the Scottish Highlands. And it seems like every third episode, some weird, insane set of circumstances happen, and it's how will they get out of this? And then they get out of it, and then they bone. And then in season 2, there is no boning. I would say
There's boning in season 2.
It's just not as.
It's not as frequent.
it's infrequent, and it's the kind of boning you have when you're unhappily married in France. It's
Or when you're recovering from severe trauma.
his dick didn't get stabbed. Spoilers for season 2.
Damn.
No, but his dick did get stabbed metaphorically.
It got kind of
Emotionally.
whacked
Can
off.
I want to
That's the
ask?
wrong choice of words.
I would just
Yes,
want to.
that
When you're
really
saying his
is
dick
the-
got stabbed, are you saying that it was like this? Like it was like two fingers bumping
Sword
against
fight?
each other? I don't know. What are you saying about his dick got stabbed?
Metaphorically, his
Metaphorically,
manhood got taken
was
away from
attacked.
him.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that in the next episode.
I know.
okay.
Anyway, so you rewatched the pilot. What's your
Are you
favorite?
saying just chill till the next episode?
Yeah, you and I are just gonna chill, and then we'll just do the.
What is your favorite part of that first episode? The ladies
what did
want
we
to
talk
know. We
about
have
the
some
most
male
about?
listeners too. We
Neil
shouldn't say
likes-
the ladies.
I need everybody to understand that Neil really likes to close his OE between every sip. So when you hear something that sounds like a Coke, plastic Coke, yeah, like that, that's Neil being neat with his OE, his 40 of OE.
Right in the microphone too.
It's really special.
Take that, mouth sounds. Oh, Julie. Oh, you know what? Now I get it. That sounds disgusting.
It's hilarious. I think it's funny. All right, so, sorry.
Well, let's think about this. I think actually, favorite part of the pilot, we should split it into two halves. We should split it into the sort of World War II time when she's with Frank before she goes back, and then our favorite parts after she actually travels back in time.
Sure. I mean, I'm just gonna say it's the tongue bath.
Yep.
That's it.
That's basically it.
Yeah. So
For sure. For
Next,
sure, that's the best part of the first half.
next question.
Yep.
That means the cunnilingus
Oh,
in
I
the
know.
castle.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is the rare occurrence where their favorite part is going to be the same as our favorite part.
I think it is.
Although we also really love Mrs. Graham. We got to give. We always forget to give the love to Mrs. Graham.
Well, I mean, we did have some discussion about whether or not, like, I mean, is it realistic that in those dirty old ruins that is the? I mean, obviously she didn't wear underwear, and so she was very much like, this is going to happen while we're out here at some point. But we're like, is this really the place where she would choose it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no! Because in my brain, I
Not
was
you,
like,
Julie.
I don't know. Maybe that car.
You mean that? Now that car, that is a 1942
Oh my God.
Tucker Under.
It's a
Is the
Tucker?
name. It's a Tucker. It's a Tucker.
I hardly even
Under.
know her.
Yep. It's a Tucker Under.
I
They
am too
only
sober
made
for
500 of them, and very few of them were exported outside of the United States.
yeah, it's very, very common.
By they, I think you mean Jeff Bridges.
Yep, by Jeff Bridges. And it was really unusual for that particular color of ox blood to be seen as well. So it's a really unusual automobile.
Kevin, hold on. Is this real?
Yeah, Neil and I looked up facts.
Of course you did. Of course you did. And you guys are going to be the one that knows about that sweet ass
We're
car.
gonna pepper in all sorts of crazy facts
Yep.
Sweet.
all
Okay.
day long.
So we all agree, women and men, that the hot eating out scene is number one.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
What was your least favorite part of the Scottish of the 1945?
Well, I want to
should
say, well, okay, so my
I
least
think we
favorite
might be in
1945.
agreement on this one as well. I think it's. We talked a lot about the voiceovers
Yes,
in it,
it's the
and I think that the
worst.
voiceovers in the first part, especially the 1945 shit of like, I looked at a vase, and if I bought a vase, how different would my life be? And it's like, well, no, your life would also be different if your dumb, stupid husband didn't go to look at a box of old bill of sales from Blackjack Randall with some weird old priest he met a day and a half ago. Yeah, your life would be a lot different in that regard too.
Yeah.
Don't be like a vase is how you're pinning your whole life on the fact that you went back in time and
Yeah. I mean, generally, the voiceovers in general are my least favorite part of this show. I am on record for that. That's my least favorite part of this
Okay.
entire series.
Julie, what's your least favorite part?
I have to agree. Sometimes the voiceovers really, especially in season one, because they had to. Because they had to depend on it so much to get through so much of the storytelling or to condense storytelling. Upon my rewatch of season one, I found myself being a little bit more annoyed with that trope or that type of storytelling.
Mine is the Fleetwood Mac dance. How is that I'm the only one who their least favorite part is the Fleetwood Mac dance?
Do you mean the women in the Dick Rocks, or do you mean...
Dick rocks.
You know what, though?
Is there another Fleetwood Mac dance?
I hear what you're saying, but because that part is in the intro, it's such like a big part of the intro, it just feels so integral to the spirit of the show.
Oh, it is. That doesn't mean I have to like it.
All right.
At that point, I already knew that there was no more going down on a lady in the episode. I had checked out.
Yep. Yeah. Kevin spent a lot of time on his phone last night.
Oh, so much time. But admittedly, the first time I went through and watched this series...
He's already seen it.
Every time I looked up over the one enormous arm on his couch to see what was happening over there, he would be on his phone.
And we can talk about the architecture of that couch later, but I watched most of this show while playing Sudoku.
And you admitted that in season 2, Dudelanders.
Yeah, and that's why there's going to be some gaps.
For the second half of the pilot, I think my favorite part is when the whole scene where... I think the one where she sets his shoulder, it's either where she sets his shoulder or where she tends to the gunshot wound after he falls off the horse. It's her being a badass fucking like doctor in olden times. Probably the shoulder, because that is some good shit when you see the bone move underneath the skin. That's some good special effects. I like that moment a lot. And it's the one where, what's his name? Ratcliffe, the guy you call grown up Peter Dinklage is tries to...
Yeah, grown up Peter Dinklage.
Angus.
Tries to flip her some shade when she demands like his belt, and then Gilf Golf is like, nope, give him your belt. That whole moment is really nice. It sort of establishes like the tenor for the relationship she's going to have with a lot of these dudes.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Mr. Lambert?
Oh man, I don't think I have one. At that point, it becomes a show. Like the first time I watched this, my thoughts were, oh shit, I just spent like a half hour watching the wrong show altogether, because
It never turned into Quantum Leap.
the things I thought, there's no DeLorean, it didn't go 88 miles an hour. It's just really let down with time travel. I had no idea that it was about time travel. Like I had, Outlander, you look at the image that they have.
You thought it was going to be a period piece.
I thought it's a straight period piece, kind of like, it's like a Downton Abbey. Like you just start there and that's where your story begins. And so they're like driving around a Tucker Under, and I can't
get enough.
I just was like, I think I'm watching the wrong show. I think I'm watching, and I was like frantic, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And eventually they get there, and at that point I was just kind of like, well, now we're in Scotland, and it's a time travel show.
Well, you were in Scotland the whole time, but then you're in
like
the past.
in like, yeah.
You're in the Highlander time.
underdeveloped.
You're in Mel
Scotland.
Gibson, Scotland.
You're in Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I'm in
time.
Braveheart
So what
times.
you're saying is you don't have a favorite part.
Honestly, I don't think I could pull something out and be like, "Oh, that was great!" Like that would
From
get me
the-
to keep
from the
watching.
pilot
From the
episode,
pilot
okay.
in the second half of that episode.
Okay.
Julie, what about you?
Well, the setting of the shoulder is pretty cool. Also, Murtaugh saving her from being raped by Blackjack, like appearing out of nowhere, is pretty good. It's been a while since I've seen it, so who knows? It's been a while.
Oh, you got there first.
Yeah.
It's Dudelander. We can do whatever we want.
My favorite is when Jamie has to square off with her because she runs away when they're raiding the English, and he's taken his arm out of his belt harness, and I don't even remember what he says before it. It's just burned into my brain in a very special place. And he goes, "I'll throw you over my shoulder,"
Yeah.
and I just love it.
Yeah.
The hair looks good. He's kind of bloody.
Doesn't have weird hair.
We've already established.
Everyone's hair is so much shorter
So
in
much
the
shorter.
first episode.
Beards aren't as thick or long.
Yeah.
If you go from watching the last episode of season 1 to the first episode of
Yeah.
season 1.
Everyone is still on the fence about whether or not they're gonna.
Yeah, the show isn't
show is
getting
getting picked up.
Right. That's very true.
Actually, Glass is picked up. It got a full season order. They didn't do a pilot. So technically that episode is not the pilot. We're just calling it the pilot.
Well, you can definitely see where the actors had, clean-shaven faces and or shorter hair as
Very
they started
recently,
trying
yeah.
to grow it out in preparation for the show, but they were still not at their full luxury.
They're full hirsute. What would the? Never mind. I don't want to get into that. All right, so we move into. We don't want to fall into the trap of doing episode by
No, we don't want to
No.
go into that.
Right.
I just thought
madness.
that would be a good place to start.
Right. So since we typically talk about either basically kind of plot synopsis, character notes, or costume notes, or coitus notes, do you want to try to use our pillars?
I like characters, costumes, and coitus.
All right.
So let's start with the characters. We're thinking this first half of season 1.
First half of season
for
1.
training wheels for both of you, because it's been a while. That's going to
It's been a
take you... Oh my God.
Damn it.
Oh no, this is gonna be the joke. The entire fucking joke.
It's going to take you from the tongue bath to Black Jack Randall getting ready to sexually assault Claire, and her boobs are out, so you may remember this scene. And then a window swings open, and Jamie goes, "Oh, thank you to be taking your hands off my wife."
Blackout.
And then everybody waited like 4 months for more Outlander. So in between, they get married. She meets Galis. There's some hijinks with attempting to steal a horse. There's Je suis prêt. There's a gathering. Somebody dies by pig. There's an exorcism. There's Leary. Fuck her.
Yeah. We also have the flashback to Frank too before the end of the first half. So we get to talk about, because both sides now is in the first
Yes,
half.
we get to see what Frank is up to
Right.
back in the future.
That joke never gets.
And he gets a little bit dark. We see Black Jack Randall punch Claire in the stomach.
Yeah.
She pees in a bucket.
Oh yeah.
That happens.
She puts it on wool. Whatever. So you guys.
Jamie has like 6 different shirts ripped off of him. None by Claire. She doesn't ever rip a shirt off of him.
So gentlemen,
Talking about characters.
characters, please tell us.
Besides Claire and Jamie,
Sure.
we can talk more about them later, maybe if we want to.
Don't worry, they're just the leads.
Yeah, but I think that for me, for the first half, from what I remember, the characters that probably jump out at me the most and left the most like interesting impression
That was my floor making that sound.
was probably the man who invented Gilf and Ned Gowan.
Wait, the man who invented Gilf.
Yeah.
That's a new and improved nickname for him.
He actually might have been both
he
the
might have
man who
invented-
invented golf and the man who invented
Well,
Gilf.
no, I'm pretty sure that there are some other older, stately British gentlemen who'd have something to say about
Like
that.
prehistoric gilfs?
No,
Or-
I
like
meant-
in real time. Like
Oh,
if
in
it's
real
in
time.
1700s, is he the first person where like a 17-year-old girl looked at him and was like, he's old enough to be my grandfather. I'd still do him. Like is he the man who invented
But he's not
Gilf?
technically a grandfather, though, on the series.
could
He's
be,
got an
though.
illegitimate
He could be.
bastard kid.
In that time period, he could definitely be a grandfather.
All I'm saying is, I absolutely, out of... You're like, what is it? Your Wednesday thing? You're like, look at...
You're welcome Wednesday.
Yeah,
You're
look
welcome
at
Wednesday.
this guy Wednesday, whatever it's called.
Yeah, where's the Graham McTavish
Where's the
shots?
Graham McTavish? Because that's the one I see
You
the
know what?
most. I'm like,
We've
that's
talked
a
about
good-looking old
this.
ass man.
We've talked about this, and we're thinking about expanding the purview of Your Welcome Wednesday. I will say this though: people really respond to images of Sam Hewitt.
I gotta say, like every week that you put a Sam Hewitt picture up, we get.
Can you get on mic?
You didn't send me the mic. Now I have it. Every week that you put up a Sam Hewitt picture, we get more impressions every week. Like every single time, Facebook says this has got 75% more viewership than any post you've ever done.
You know why? Because he looks real good.
Just give the people a choice, is what I'm saying. Like
All right, listeners, dear listeners, find us on Twitter. Would you like us to branch out from Sam Hewitt? Let us know. And also, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/podlandercast.
And on Wednesdays, you're treated to a photo of some fine, let's just call it beefcake now, since we don't know.
I don't know, we should maybe call it Cornish game hen for the moment.
I will say too, there was someone who actually just recently liked our page, and she went back and liked every Your Welcome Wednesday post.
Cheers to you.
That's amazing.
That's some dedication.
I mean,
That's amazing.
for all you know, that was me. I feel like that could have been me.
So wait, back
Or
up.
me.
Characters.
I don't know.
So Neil
I don't
said
know what I did.
Neil said Gilf and Ned Gowan. I have a feeling that I know why for Ned Gowan, but why Gilf? Why are those the two characters that stood out for you?
Well, why is the man that invented Gilf the one that stands out to me so much? Let's see. Well, I mean, he's right there at the beginning, right? He's the first. He's the figure of authority in the scene that I just said is maybe my favorite old-timey scene from the pilot. He's a fascinating character in the whole show in being is he an antagonist? Is he a protagonist? Like, is he interweaves between both, between being
Like a classic Snape type character.
well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're the expert.
Guys, people like Harry Potter. Just bring Harry Potter into this.
Between being on their side and being opposed to them, like, and you never know what direction he's going to come from at any given moment. And he's really just good in the part. Mm-hmm. He looks fucking cool as hell.
Yeah.
In fact, last night, Kevin was like, I don't really get the whole Sam Huon thing, but I know why people think Graham McTavish is hot. It's a direct quote from Kevin last night.
He is very manly.
Yeah.
He is Mas Macho.
Yeah, he's Mas Macho,
He's
man.
Mas Macho.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just cool.
Talk to me about Ned Gowan.
Ned Gowan is that other kind of cool. Ned Gowan is for young Neil Starbird, who really thought he was going to grow up to be like a scientist or something, and was always sort of liked the nerdy, like sciencey characters like Data in the Goonies and shit in all the movies.
I thought
and
you were going to
television
say
shows.
Data in Next Generation.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really-
no, Goonies, man, OG Data. Yeah. I think Ned appeals to that too. The guy who's triumphing through his intellect, despite being surrounded by, Mas Macho dudes. That it's the power of his mind, and that allows him to succeed, and that is also tempered by having a fairly compassionate outlook on life.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kevin, you?
Plus, cool glasses.
He knows that pretty cool.
Also, looks cool.
Also, overcame asthma.
Yeah. Well, overcame it or fucking OE.
You don't need to cap it.
He
It's
will cap
fine.
it every time.
This is my house, and I really don't want to spill this all over my floor and then be spelling it for a week.
Nobody's gonna
you
spill
don't
it.
Yeah,
Nobody's
I guess the
noticed.
good news with the OE is you could knock it off the table and nothing would happen.
Shatterproof.
Shatterproof.
Thanks, Kevin.
That's how they sell 40s now. It's actually really sad.
I want to go on record as saying that I am slightly disappointed in us, but mostly disappointed with Kevin that Ned Gowan doesn't have a nickname yet. And as soon as I thought, but Ned Gowan doesn't have a nickname, I came up with the perfect one. Mm-hmm. And I think that we should call him Perry McMason.
Barry McMason's pretty good.
Thanks.
I like that.
All right, so I didn't come up with nicknames for everybody, just people that I felt like I needed.
But
to,
that's what we're talking about right now is in the
Yeah,
first
go to
half
hell,
of
Kevin.
season 1, talk to us about some of the characters that stood out to you.
Galus, I think, first and foremost.
For the first half of season 1?
yeah.
Yeah.
When we meet her.
Just because she's such an oddball, and she is in a time where, in a show where there's just a lot of men, right? Mm-hmm. That you have this like one female character that kind of breaks what you think of. Like, I don't remember most of their names, but what's Mrs. Buttersworth? Who's the lady that runs the
Mrs.
castle?
Fitzgibbons.
Sure, Mrs. Buttersworth, and like she fits in that mold of what you expect that character to be like.
Yeah.
Versus
I mean,
Galus.
you mentioned Downton Abbey. Downton Abbey has that same character.
Exactly, right? Like, it's what you would expect from a period drama. Galus is something completely...
Yeah, except for only one of those characters is played by the great Annette Badland. One.
Look, you show her love all you want
Now on
Twitter.
EastEnders.
I'm just saying, Galus sticks out. God, it warms my heart and it hates it at the same
I
time.
can't wait till we're done with these.
You're drinking yours faster than either of us,
I want
buddy.
to be done with it. It's just so bad, and I don't want to get warm.
I'm not putting you on mic for that exchange because I don't want you to badmouth the good people at OE. So.
Hey, if it starts to get
Guys.
warm, we can put some ice in it.
Guys. Oh my God. So, Galus.
Galus.
Does Galus have a nickname?
No.
Nope.
Stevie
Doesn't need
McNix?
one.
No,
We'll
I
never
don't
be
think
Stevie
Galus needs
McNix.
one.
I just think that we should put a Mick in front of basically anything.
Anybody in this table knows that it'll never be Stevie McNix. Bad form on you, madam. Sit one out for 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, we did an entire episode of Fleetwood Mac jokes.
No, they were great, but we could talk off mic about that.
They really weren't great, but thanks.
No, I enjoyed them.
Tusk!
Ugh. It hurts every time.
Who else from the first half of season 1 that hasn't been said? Because I don't want to do repeats. I think we should
Sure
try
you
to.
can.
I mean, King Ricketts is there, but I don't know if he's really shining in the first half of season 1.
No, here's what it is. Because this episode does take place in the first half of season 1, I'm first and foremost on Team Frank.
Hell
And
yeah.
that episode of like what his life is like in 1945 while she's been gone, just getting straight up dicked
Since she's been gone?
Yeah, she can breathe for the first time, and she's totally yours. And it's yeah.
Keep going. You got it.
No, that's all I want to do. And then I'll go. Tobias Menzies. Am I saying that right?
No.
It's technically pronounced Menzies.
That was Menzies.
I think it's Menzies, but
Come on.
Menzies. but
You're
we-
in our world now, bitch.
You
It's
know how we
Tobias
say
Menzies.
So Tobias Funke and his episode, just him as Frank, I think.
But we know that he's a never nude. We know he's not a never nude.
Oh yeah,
We've seen that peen.
we've seen it. You and I watched it together last night.
Roaring fire.
Couple of Coors Lights.
Oh God, what is wrong with you?
That's all I had in my
Nope.
fridge.
I was drinking Pacifico.
You did finish off a lot of those Pacificos. Thank you. I'll say him as Frank was a standout character just because he gets that episode, and I think it's really good to know that while she's gallivanting around, the misery that he is actually feeling.
Hold
Unfair.
on. While she is running around in the past, unprepared, constantly trying to not be raped by people.
Also, actually actively trying to get back to the future.
Yes.
At least in the first half of season 1.
You can't, I'm sure you can hear that I'm flicking him off right now. Can you hear it?
But I also understand what Kevin is saying. If you go back to the future and you're in Frank's place and all those people keep telling you that your wife left you for another man for like 3 years in a row, right?
Frank didn't get remarried, all right?
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. And I understand that, like, at a time...
Different for a vagina.
Well, it was also a set of circumstances where it was, as we remembered immediately going into recording these podcasts, that it was set up in a way that to make sure that she wouldn't get... removed extradited back to England or taken by the Redcoats
Or
something like that.
taken to Fort William and
Like,
tortured by Blackjack
Yes,
Randall.
it's I think the show does a really nice job of, like, they aren't two people that, like, they looked at each other when she set his shoulder and they're like, and now we're in love forever. It's like they were thrust together and then had to kind of find their way, which I think is a nice touch in one of these stories instead of being like love at first sight bullshit.
Yeah.
Although he later says that it basically was.
Oh yeah, because, like, look at her compared to Mrs. Buttersworth. Like,
Don't you talk shit. Well, how about we say look at her compared to Leary?
Yeah.
Lady.
look at her compared to. That's
Or
the only name I can think
how
of.
about this? How about not look at her? How about talk to her and listen to her?
Yes.
Because she is so different than most of the women that he is surrounded by that there has to
There
be
you go.
some sort of
God sent me a rare woman.
God sent me a rare woman.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's very beautiful, but she's also incredibly smart. She has her own opinions. She's not of that world.
It makes what we're talking about right now makes me think of one of my favorite moments in the first half of season 1, which is when Claire is teasing him about Leary and they're like playing footsie under the table and she's kicking him in shit.
Murtaugh.
And he gets up from the table and leaves. And Murtaugh says something to the effect of you shouldn't tease him like that, or he'll get himself in trouble. And she says, well, will he get a bride? And he says, Jamie needs a woman. You know as well as I do that Jamie needs a woman, and Leary will be a girl until she's 50. Mm-hmm. And it's such a fucking good line.
It's really
Why
true.
wasn't that one of your
Sick
sick
burn,
burns?
Murtaugh.
Yeah.
It is kind
Well,
it's not
because
really
it's
a
not
sick
said
burn.
in meanness.
It's
and it's
more-
not, it's not a burn.
advice, and it's
I
not
think it's
said
sick
directly
burn.
to
Sick
the
burn.
person.
It's
Yeah.
not a sick burn.
Well, it's kind of a
Sick
burn.
burn.
Fergus.
Okay, so character. Do you guys feel okay on your character choices?
Anybody you missed?
Anybody you feel like
I mean,
you
there's
need
a
to talk
lot.
about?
I think there are a lot of really good minor standout characters that just kind of pop in and pop out. But for the most part,
King Ricketts' wife.
Carrier's wife.
The fair Letitia.
She doesn't get a lot.
No,
I'm so proud that you
that's-
knew her name.
Yeah.
I know it because I read the books.
Yeah, I was
Julie,
being a bit
I'm
facetious
impressed.
there because, like, she is kind of like feels like a non-entity a little bit.
Except that if you really think about what happened there,
If you really think about that, maybe she's gonna think. But as far as a character on the show, she's not really there.
she had to have sex with Sonny Corleone to have that baby. Let's
Yeah.
think about that. She had to have
No,
sex
I know
with
the
Gilkoff.
circumstances are all like, laid out as being interesting, but she as a human being on the show is
Is-
laid out as window dressing.
Nothing, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that this necessarily isn't Kevin's strong suit, but I do know that Neil is interested in this aspect. Costumes.
Well, we talked about just as far as general accoutrement go. We talked about the Tucker Under already,
Yeah.
right?
Great car.
It's an amazing car. We talked about the vase.
Vase.
That's right. The show takes place, near closer to the continent, so you're right. We should say vase.
Oh my god.
Let's see what else.
So far, you've listed two things, neither of which is a costume.
I guess foremost in my mind is the way they transformed her, sort of stylish, slightly casual dress from the 40s into a slip by just having her lose a belt when she travels back in time. I thought that was actually pretty masterfully done. As far as this is a dress with a belt, and a shawl or whatever that looks totally in place in the 40s, and she loses the belt and rolls through some mud, and now it looks like she's running around in her underwear in the 1700s.
Now it has become a shaft.
That's what that's called.
A shaft. Okay, it's called a shaft.
No.
Good to know.
Just
whatever. Okay,
Just
Kevin.
a slender, lean white shaft.
I don't know if anything
lean.
else jumped out at me costume-wise.
Nothing from Frank?
Well, I mean, it's all right.
Frank looks-
It's
I
a
mean,
fedora
Frank is
and a
sharp.
suit. It's fine,
but
but it's
Hess
not
looks so much better than-
It's not sharp because of his clothing. It's sharp because of his jaw.
I won't put words in your mouth, but I do feel duty bound to just.
You said duty.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? I feel
these oldies.
I feel duty bound to remind you that wasn't even real. He did that with his hands. I feel duty bound to remind you that maybe the most famous costume on the show is in the first half of the first season.
The red dress?
No.
Is it the eyeball thing?
No.
No.
What is it?
Is it shirtless Jamie? Is that what
Well, to be fair,
I feel like that's the most
Kevin.
iconic costume you guys talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
You know what?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
good. That's
Kevin's
huge.
right.
That's
Is it the
huge.
berets? Because I love the berets.
Berets look good. They look good.
No, it's the wedding.
It's the wedding dress, motherfuckers.
Oh, right. Yeah, wedding dress. Yeah, I mean,
A lot happened.
They don't really care about that.
No,
honestly, I've never really gotten the wedding dress excitement thing. It doesn't translate to me on a visceral level the way it seems to for other people. I can be like, yeah, that dress seems fine, but
I know that this is another season, but the red dress is that different for you?
that ain't a wedding dress, man.
Okay.
wait, Terry Dressbach?
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Very
Is
good.
it Dressbach or Dresbach?
Dress
Dress
I
box.
think it's dress box.
She definitely gets a chance in season 2 to stretch her legs a little bit more, And those costumes in season 2 are worth having a full discussion about that. But in season 1, I think that they're very much what makes them so great is that they look authentic and that they don't look. They're
Not a lot of flash.
They're exactly
there's
what they
your
need to be.
occasional eyeball brooch or whatever, right?
You're gonna get a really nice, clean red coat, but you're gonna get a really lived-in tartan that looks like it's seen better days.
And what? Oh, geez, Kevin, don't throw the mic. And also just the nice part about that wedding dress though is it is for season. If we're thinking in the temporal sense of this happening before season 2, it is a really nice example of what they're about to go into for France, because obviously the authenticness in which they obviously didn't use sequins, because I remember you guys talking about how they created those.
The technical term is sequenced.
That's the drag race thing.
Okay.
If they wanted to use that effect back then, they had to chip mother of pearl out from the inside of seashells.
Mica.
And they would.
It was Micah.
Yeah.
It was actually mica flakes, and she bought mica flakes and sewed them into the dress.
And flaked it. They had to flake it all by hand.
Well, in more coastal areas, they would use flakes from the inside of mollusk shells.
That is also another fact we looked up.
I'm catching
Is
a
that true?
scent of
We looked that up
Wikipedia
yesterday.
on the
Is
air.
that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We
Like
looked up
abalone
facts.
shells? It's my favorite. You guys abalone.
Well, so I guess because we only watched the first episode from the first half of that season, and so I'm asking Julie to pull up the wedding dress now because I feel like if we had,
Yeah, I honestly don't remember what it looks like.
it left such a little impression on me at that time because I was
Here you
probably
go, Kevin.
trying to get a high score in Sudoku.
So you can't.
I mean, no, it is okay. So I'm looking at a picture of it right now. Listener, also pull one up on your phone. I'll give you a second.
You can't actually see it here
Okay,
because
pause the podcast, pull it up, restart the podcast.
the light isn't on it, but everything down here in that in the lighter color area here in the split in the main skirt is sewn with mica flex so that it's like sequins basically. Like when light hits it, it reflects back.
Sequenced.
No, it is. It's okay. So that's a beautiful garment, and you can tell that it's the thing that they said. Look, we hired somebody really crazy talented to do this, so let's let her fucking do her work. That's great. I think it looks great.
Really interesting that I don't remember this. It's green, right?
Gray.
Oh, it's gray.
That's also like a stylish shot.
Well, she can't wear white, so it has to be.
Okay,
She
so
bought
this.
it from a prostitute.
So this is
buy it
well.
from a
I mean, it's
prostitute.
the only reason I say I'm so surprised I don't remember it, and this is getting a little personal. But it's gray. It's not green.
It's gray. It's kind of like slate gray, but it's in
Greenish
the same.
undertones.
I know what you're about to say.
I think it's like golden white, but you might think it's like blue and black.
There's colors here that are not dissimilar from my own bride's wedding dress. And that's why I'm sort of surprised that I'm not remembering it. I mean, and Jesus, boobs though.
I mean,
Damn.
it really does get some boobs up in there.
I could just see over here on Allison's computer where she's
Jesus,
pulling it
I
up.
just need to relook up the red dress.
That's
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah,
That's
let's-
season 2, Janine.
No, let's have a look at the red dress.
No,
Get
yeah,
yourself
can we
together.
compare? I think we should compare and contrast.
All right. Well,
Yeah, no, pull up the red dress and then give me just a few minutes alone.
Oh, yeah.
Here's in the Outlander costume exhibit.
That doesn't do much for me. Yeah, that doesn't do much for me.
No,
I'm just
I
saying.
actually-
And even the picture that Janine showed me, while it made me be like, oh my god, that's actually kind of the same color as my wife's wedding dress, still doesn't as a dress jump out to me.
Oh my god. You know what's funny is there's actually pictures of comparing these two dresses going, which dress are you?
are you the wedding dress or are you the red dress? Are you serious?
Damn straight, I'll show it to you on my phone.
No, it's weird because anyway, well, her makeup's so much more severe in that shot of the red dress.
Yeah, that's also
All right. So Kevin, this is the first shot of the red dress in the episode.
Yeah, no, the red dress is such a better dress.
Dear listener,
It's
we're happy to bring you this section of muddled conversation
what?
as we all
Here's what I
grapple
say.
with the internet,
so many,
trying to
so
bring
many
up
phones and
trying to
computers
bring
are
up
passed
pictures
around.
that you
Hold
will
on, hold
never
on.
see as you listen to this episode.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on our show. I'll tell you what I think.
Please, it's your show.
I agree with Kevin. Here's why. The wedding dress is beautiful, but the red dress, knowing what we know about the design of it and the use of cleaner, more spare lines from kind of 40s actual designer wear, it's just more impactful to me. It's not just the color, it's that the lines are so clear and clean. And I respond to that more personally.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's more to my taste, but I think in terms of dramatic impact, it's actually a very similar effect.
Yes.
Because in that episode, remember, she's got that cloak on, and it kind of falls off, and the light hits it.
It is the moment that Jamie sees her in the wedding dress, which is what Allison is talking about, because she is covered up. And then
And that was a really nice moment.
wait, what are you thinking about, dudes? You're
Well, I'm
having
just saying, I don't remember the moment, but I'm looking at this picture and I'm like, oh, so she was covered up, and then she uncovered it, and it's like this dress is very tits out, and yeah, I imagine he had a
I
reaction.
was thinking, does this row or column have an 8 in it yet? Can I put an 8 here? So much of this stuff was lost on me. Costumes aren't, like you mentioned, my forte. To me, I really like, and I'm going to jump kind of a little bit off of costumes.
Do it.
I like the subtle difference in cinematography that they use between the future and being back in Scotland. That is more interesting to me, and I think it might appeal more to Janine, but he's never seen any of those episodes, so why does he care?
Oh, he's seen the wedding.
He's
But
seen the
that's
wedding, but the wedding
indoors.
isn't in. It's not in 1945.
Well, what are you talking about? What is the
so
difference?
if you look at the way the coloring that they use when they're in 45.
Oh, he's seen we watched.
Oh, he watched the last episode of season 2. Guys, if you haven't gotten to the last episode of season 2 yet, stop everything. Just watch that episode. Game changer. I gotta say.
Yeah.
Game changer. Brianna. Can we do spoilers?
Speaking
we'll
of
just say
spoilers.
there are red tights.
Oh man, I'm gonna stop right there.
Back to the
But back to cinematography. So the shots that they use are more when they're in Scotland, they are a lot more naturalistic versus what they're doing in 45 or anytime they're in the future.
Yeah.
Possibly later than 45 if you haven't caught up fully. They're using a lot of the techniques in filming at that time. So a lot of the coloring is not, it's a little muted. It's not crisp that you might see.
God, I did not
I can't really
notice
go.
that
I can't
this
really.
at all.
There's an extreme example of it at the start of season 2.
I would say that I did not notice that in that last episode of season 2 because it felt like it actually still felt really vibrant because they were, without going too spoilery, without going too spoilery, like they were highlighting the colors from that time, and so I don't remember it actually being.
That is true, but I wonder if what Kevin is saying, I get it. What I think is that maybe in the 40s,
Yeah,
it was a
because
little
that was
bit more
different.
muted. It
Yeah.
was a little bit dustier,
Yeah, you're
like
right.
there was a little bit of filter on it that just, it was very brown and blue.
You guys, I think Kevin's full of shit. I
know
think
what?
it's bullshit,
Glove,
actually.
throw it
Listen,
out.
I don't think this is true. I don't think any of that is happening.
Okay, then rewatch the first episode of season 2. And I think that's the prime example of the distinction that they want to use that you instantly will know without ever knowing what time you're in.
This is season 1
You
we're
can,
talking about right now,
you
Kevin.
can blow it out your goddamn ass, you stupid piece.
Okay, you guys,
All right,
get it
all
back
right.
together.
We should get off costume.
No, real quick.
Okay, so
No, real quick. Should we?
Please.
Oh, well, no, it should go. You
no,
go.
Neil, please.
I didn't know if I know. We're like 3/4 of the way through. I didn't know if we wanted to make sure that there were like some, what do you call them? Touchstones, benchmarks.
We're hitting them because
the
we're
first half of
making
season 1 we need
we're
to
making
do.
you go through our pillars.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
that's right,
moving
that's
on
right,
to
that's
pillar
right.
Yeah,
3.
dummy, why don't you trust the process?
We're moving on to pillar 3.
I mean, I do want to say that you skipped a bunch of my favorite costumes.
against
you
the envelope,
dicks.
I don't know.
Monkey vest.
Monkey vest is real good.
God,
anything
I honestly couldn't remember if that was the first half or the second half of
anything
season
that
1.
Gayless wears is always fucked up and weird. And
Which-
there's always something weird about it or strange about
I think
it. Which
adds
is,
to
I
her.
believe I mentioned
Yes.
eyeball brooch a number
Yes,
of
you
yes,
times.
you
did.
did. You did mention eyeball brooch.
Good on you.
Brooch.
There's the like weird sheer nightgown that she wears when she dance. Oh no, that's in the second half of season 2. Never mind.
In him. So, coitus, you guys. Go.
I'm in favor.
Yeah, pro.
Okay,
Next
but
question.
like, so this is a show with its fair share of fucking on it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all that fucking?
It's
Always,
good.
let's
I'm in
do it.
favor.
Great.
Pro.
Yeah.
Next question.
Can we get a little bit more in depth here, you guys? There,
everything sounds filthy now. We've
Besides,
been-
besides, as far as
it would have been grosser if I would have said, "Can we get a little deeper?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we penetrate this more fully?
I'm sorry, I enjoy scratching the surface.
Oh.
I'm single!
Okay, so you both already mentioned that the straight up eating out scene
Right.
in the
So-
first episode was good. Now, let's talk about how that rates just in kind of television in general. Obviously, this is a cable network. Stars kind of has that reputation of being almost like a Cinemax thing, maybe a little bit more storytelling. But is this something that you see a lot just on cable or on television?
No.
Absolutely not.
So talk about that for a minute.
yeah,
Pro sex.
yeah.
Okay, let me
No, I mean-
let me say this. So,
Oh, no, go ahead.
as a lady person, part of what has always appealed to me about this show is that you can tell that they're trying to make sure that the women are entertained because the sex scenes are heavy on the foreplay and they last a long time. And mostly when people talk about sex on television, they end up talking about Game of Thrones, where the sex has basically nothing to do with the women except for that their boobs are out.
Well, and so this show actually, in that way, reminds me a little bit more of True Blood. Which has a lot of sex on it, and that's where you're a show where you're more likely to see like simulated oral sex and a lot of more of like female sexual situations where the female is in the driver's seat. Because I watched, I guess, that whole show.
Yeah, you did. He's not proud.
I think I
did.
did.
I think
Talk
I
about
did.
that off mic. Shame.
I don't know, man. When you're I'm addicted to illegal streaming.
For shame. I will.
He was joking. That's not true. He doesn't stream anything illegally.
No.
He's just addicted to True Blood for some unknown reason. I will say Andy Samberg has this great joke about sex on HBO is that it's all reverse cowgirl, so that you see the frame is set up so that you see tits right on top of the screen. And then in the tiny offset corner is like Steve Buscemi's face. So that you're not looking at these guys that they have cast in their shows to have sex. Versus, I think this show does a nice job of saying everybody likes sex and everybody has a part in sex. Whether it's the really enjoyable stuff from the first half of season 1 or some of the really dark, gross stuff, weird stuff, not gross, but just weird at the end of season 1. I think that they're saying that everybody has a part in this and enjoys aspects of it. So they do a nice job of filming that. Like, having said that, you don't see a lot of... don't you push that 40 away from you, you dum-dum.
You're in the middle of talking to something. Don't
You've drank more than half of that, man.
I can't do this anymore.
Do you want me to get you some ice?
I don't want this. I want a wine glass. And I want to drink
For your oldie?
For my Cabernet Sauvignon that I bought for myself.
No, I'm not putting the mic in front of you for this. No, I'm making a good point, and you're That's what. Damn
it.
You're being a dummy.
That's right. I told you.
reel it in.
I told you he shouldn't get a mic.
Oh God, training this. You should also get an OE next time. No, so I think that
So gross.
you don't. So okay, so I was talking about cunnilingus, which is what I love to talk about. You rarely ever.
He's single, guys.
Single and just enjoying this OE.
Where's this going?
You never see. Not never. You rarely see a woman take charge and say, "This is a thing that gives me pleasure, and we're going to do it," even though I disagree with the locale of that endeavor. I just think that they did a really nice job in those opening moments of the show to establish that we're not going to treat sex the way that a lot of other shows on cable TV treat it. We're going to take it a little more seriously, and we're going to think about how it actually works in a relationship, which they do a much better job of in season 1 than 2. But that's probably because they compress the story in season 2. And then they also say we're going to make sure that it's understood that Jamie is not great at it the first time, and with a little bit of help, he can get better, and he fucking can flick a bean in 90 seconds, apparently.
It's not real. That's the fantasy aspect. That's not real.
Yeah,
That's
it's fantasy
not
for all
something
of
that
us.
people can do.
Yes,
I
but
know.
it's a sweet, sweet fantasy,
It's a
baby.
sweet, sweet fantasy, baby.
What we're saying is that men, we feel like that sets up unrealistic expectations.
Oh,
and we
you
think
do?
that's unfair to us as a gender.
That's me taking a nap on that.
Neil said that I'm good for at least 120 seconds, maybe 150 seconds of flicking bean. I'm good.
You know who's not good at 150 seconds of flicking bean? Me. Somebody else flicking my bean. I'm just saying.
So that's, I don't know, that's where I come down on the sex in the show.
So what I take away from that is that you were interested in how it portrayed sex from a different perspective, and how it was cool to see this perspective on television.
When you say different perspective, what do you mean?
I mean that it's not what he was talking about,
It's
where
not
it's
the
just
HBO.
boobs in somebody's face.
Right.
It's like a woman either making a choice or two people teaching each other, or it's more of everybody in the pool, for lack of a better term, than it is an object.
Yeah.
It's an all skate.
Yeah, it's an all skate, baby.
Well, let me ask you this. Julie and I had a very entertaining and only slightly uncomfortable experience watching The Wedding with Janine. Mm-hmm. It was like 99% entertaining and like 1% slightly uncomfortable.
I agree with that. It wasn't that uncomfortable.
Yeah, just like the 1%.
Yeah.
Just the 1%. Is this a thing that you find titillating? We find it titillating. Do you find it titillating?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at times. Yeah.
Sir, I mean, certainly not all of it. We haven't gotten to the second half of season 1
No,
yet.
well,
no,
I mean,
obviously.
and I'm not even. I don't know if every if every consensual sexual scene is titillating to me, but some
Sure.
of them are. I mean, both of our favorite fucking moments in the first pilot is the one where he goes down on her in the fucking ruined basement, and that's a titillating moment, no doubt.
What about you, sir?
Yeah, I don't know. What was the question again? I'm really deep in this.
Do you
OE.
find the
Do I find it?
Right. It looks like he's gone through. I'm gonna guess.
I'm gonna say 26.
28 ounces,
I would say
maybe.
26, 28. Neil's ahead of me, but he's also a substantially larger man. He can hold it better than me.
That's true.
Yeah. He's like a grown man, and I look like a slightly stretched out version of a child.
No, you're doing good.
Imagine
You're fine.
Fergus, but taller and less French,
And then, like-
but with more hair.
And like none of his dreams came true. And so, what was the question about?
Do you find the sex on the show titillating?
Some of it. Yeah, some of it, because I think that it comes across as very realistic, right? Like you're not watching. What was that Lars von Trier movie where they were actually having sex in that movie?
The one with
Nymphomania?
the one with Willem Dafoe in it, and they're doing it by
and
the tree. or
even
whatever.
Stevens, yeah.
What?
Nobody watches Lars von Trier
Nobody
movies,
sees it, but
man.
it's like they had
I
real
do.
they had real sex on screen, but you get that sense that even though it's simulated, that they make the efforts to make it seem very realistic. That it can be titillating at times, but also at times you're like, great, I understand that this is like they're consummating their wedding.
So in the wedding episode, you have the first one where Jamie obviously doesn't really. Okay, so what do you guys think about the flip about him being a virgin?
Yeah, that's a great question.
She's one we already know she was married before, but she's also
Significantly older than him.
Well, not significantly.
It
Like
seems-
She's older.
It was both to me surprising and kind of unrealistic.
that he'd be a virgin.
Yeah, it kind of was because didn't he fight in a foreign war? Like he's like.
Whoa, are you saying he'd go from port
No,
to
no,
port?
no, no, no. All I'm saying is that it's not like he's just grew up on the fucking farm, you know what, in some sort of isolated situation, right? He's traveled, to some extent, he's traveled the world in the company of a variety of other people, including a variety of fighting men in military situations.
But he's also Catholic.
super duper Catholic. And he was very young, which is not to say that young dudes don't bone, but he was very young. He was also with his future brother-in-law.
But Catholics have a workaround.
Also, in the wedding episode,
You're right,
she
doing
says,
it in the butt. Maybe that explains the woman in France.
he says, she says, where did you learn to kiss like that? And he says, I said I was a virgin, not a monk. So you get the impression that he's diddled around a bit.
Were you guys not surprised when you found out he was a virgin?
No.
Did it not seem
I
unlikely?
was delighted.
Yes,
Delighted.
but did it not seem...
No, because it should always be ridiculous and nobody should ever believe it, but it's always been told as the woman being the virgin.
No, it's fun. I no doubt about that. It is a fun twist that I didn't expect, and the twist was fun because of its topsy turvy, all that shit. But it did seem a little unrealistic. Like I didn't see with everything that this guy's been through in the life he's lived. It's
And
surprising
also
to me that
kind of
he's
the way he looks like. For real.
Well, in the books, he's still
he's
like
hideous.
No, he's still very obviously a stone cold fox. But Sam Huon is also older than Jamie Fraser is. He's supposed to be like 22, 23 max.
That's still unbelievable.
Well,
Yeah.
That's still.
I don't think it's unbelievable that he's a virgin in this.
I didn't say unbelievable. I said unlikely.
I will go with them.
Technically, you said unrealistic, but
Yeah.
Unrealistic.
Yeah.
Unrealistic.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
Because
I guess what I mean is unlikely.
it's probably more unlikely than it is unrealistic because he is at that age where he should be getting married. And if Claire didn't come along, he's probably
Yeah, he
going to get
should.
married. Yeah, you got to start that family with 13 kids in case 8 of them
Right,
die.
immediately. Right.
Yeah, 'cause he's gonna be,
But, well, I mean, half your fucking brood is gonna die every time,
well,
so
he's
you
gonna-
gotta like.
and he's gonna be dead by 40 anyway in that like time period. So I mean, how old's Gil?
not that superhuman specimen. God damn.
So, like, if Claire doesn't come along, I think he probably, within the same timeline, marries Leary within the same period of months, right? Oh, whatever. But, like, that's what it was going to be. Just why don't you open and close your OE in the mic again, you dum-dum? I think that, no, I don't think it's unrealistic. I think that he probably could have and would have saved himself till marriage.
Do it slower.
We're all just watching you. Come on, Kevin. What were you saying?
What were
I
you
can't
talking
make
about,
a
Kevin?
point. I can't because I'm gonna lose it. No, it's not unrealistic to me. Like you said, it's probably unlikely, but it's not unrealistic. I wasn't taken out of it. Or the fact that he was a virgin?
Okay, so he was a virgin, wedding night. Then all of a sudden you've got a virgin male and this pretty hot ass 30-year-old, 29-year-old, whatever woman who's been doing it for several years. Mm-hmm. When you think about that in your own minds, how did the wedding scene stack up? Was it like the trying to get to know you shit? Did that make a difference? Or no? No, it's okay. You guys.
No, we can't remember.
We don't remember much about it.
All right.
Why not?
Well, I watched it when it was on.
It's been a long time ago.
I
watched that episode when it was actually. Julie and I watched it when it came out.
That's why we tried.
I shotgunned it all before the first
watch it,
Dudelander.
But we decided to watch the.
I understand. Do you remember the pearl
pilot
necklace?
instead.
Not the.
He doesn't
pearl
blow. I
necklace.
remember that he doesn't do a pearl necklace.
No, he gives her an actual pearl
Yeah,
necklace.
it comes up later.
It comes up in the finale. That's the only reason
Yeah.
why I remember.
Okay, never mind. Then no more questions about the wedding.
All right, here's
No,
another.
I mean I remember that they had like a lot of. I remember that it was hot. I do remember that it was hot.
Is the wedding the
all I
knife to the throat?
No.
No.
Then I will say nothing further.
The squeak is the best.
Just so, real quick, I want to paint a picture. We here at the Podlander Drunkcast take your feedback very seriously. And some of you, one of you in particular, Jedlander, we love you so much, get really disappointed when you can't hear Janine. But we only have 4 microphones. So what's happening is Janine put a microphone on essentially a swivel. Kevin is leaning his arm on it like he's playing the sands. And then whenever Janine wants to talk, he kind of waves. And like half the time, Kevin just straight up ignores him. The other half, he swivels it and it goes.
Janine's not a guest on this podcast. I am. That's why I ignore him.
Swivel it. Can you hear that squeak? It's almost as funny as Neil slowly capping and uncapping his OE.
So I just want to throw in to say that I think I think the question you posed to them was the idea of like, is it realistic or how does it feel with these two different aged people? I think it works really well for me. Like it makes a lot of sense, and I think they play it quite well. Mm-hmm. And I tried to think back when I was 22 or whatever, how old ever Jamie's supposed to be, and that interaction they have and the way she's like really patient and then like says, "Okay, hold on, we're gonna figure this out."
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's like
Yeah.
that's like
And
that's
then she
fantastic.
teaches him that just a little bit of pain can be a satisfying thing, which by the way is a much better lesson than the one he learns at the end of season 1.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have anything to add to that.
Why did you tell me to swing the mic, you dummy?
Because he loves that moment. Right now, Janine watched this much more recently than either of you, and right now he's thinking about that moment when she bites him. That is what he is thinking about.
Yeah.
Now we're all thinking about it, so it doesn't matter.
Look at Neil's face.
All right, so
All right, so anything that you guys have for the first half of season 1, moments that you remember, anything. We talked about our 4 pillars.
Just how does the first half of season 1 end? Like
It
what's the
ends
system?
with-
Thank you to be taking your hands
Hands
off my wife.
Oh, right.
When she tries to run back to the Dick Rocks and gets taken by the red coats.
Mm-hmm.
And Blackjack Randall is about to rape her, and then Jamie busts in the windows.
Right.
But also
And
remember,
that's the moment where Thomas has a little moment, right?
No,
when
no,
he comes,
no, that's
You
not
don't
till
see
season
it
2.
till
Sorry, part 2.
part 2. You
My-
don't see it until part 2.
So I remember my feelings on this, because I was like shotgunning it aggressively to get to Dudelander for season 2, was that it just seemed like they were trying to at the end of every episode hit on, like, we want to get this big catastrophic moment to happen, and then it'll immediately resolve itself very quickly in the next episode.
standard television show.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and I was very kind of.
Watch The Good Place, everyone.
Was that the Good Wife spinoff?
No, it's the one with that Ted Danson is going to win an Emmy for
It's a
next
good
year.
show.
Oh, it's the new. We talk
Him and
about Mike.
Kristen- yeah. Kristen Bell.
Guys, I'm crazy for Ted Danson. But it
It's
just
really
I
good
just
show.
had this feeling of it being at this point, it was very much a show that I wasn't crazy about. I wouldn't actually ever sit through because it just seemed like very much like a period drama, very kind of like everything's going to go fine for 40 minutes, and then the last 3 minutes, some bullshit thing's going to go off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my question for you, Kevin.
Shoot.
Is there, what, if anything, about this show would, if you were left to your own devices, flipping channels on a Saturday afternoon or whatever it is, bring you back to it?
Boy, howdy.
And if the answer is nothing, if the answer is I would never ever watch this show, if not for two dear friends who are invested in it.
I would never
Who
watch the show.
invited you on their podcast?
If not for the fact that I am kind of a fame whore.
more than once.
I love you, buddy.
Boy, howdy.
I only watched this show because of the two wonderful women to my right.
What would be another word for wonderful?
Listeners, they are sitting to his right.
I was told to ask a question, but I think I'm gonna hold off until the next episode.
Okay. All right.
The things that would actually draw me into this show
Yeah.
don't really happen until the second half of this season.
Okay.
There's a moment in particular which we will have to talk about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about already.
Because I think I texted you when it happened because it
Yes.
was so much of this first half of the season, which in the context of it being the first half of a novel is the groundwork for what's really going to come in the second half. And so much of it is like, we need to establish that Claire is back in time and is getting through it. She's not thriving, but she's like getting through she's finding her ways. And to me, I could not have been more bored.
Okay. Now, would say if like you had seen the first episode and you'd been like, eh, and then you'd randomly landed on what's the fucking buttered on both sides? What's the name of that episode?
Both sides now.
Both sides now. If you
But now I want some toast.
if you randomly landed on both sides now as like the next episode you watched, would that have made you more interested in the show? I guess what I'm saying is
That's the Frank episode.
would the Frank stuff in the first half of season 1 be more compelling to you?
I think it's the balance, right? Because you see a lot of time travel shows where they show you, right? Like what happens, well, in Back to the Future, like everything happens in a span of like 10 minutes in 1985. But it's I would have been more hooked if the show had been more balanced between 45 and Frank and what is the actual year? Whatever.
16.
Highlander
17.
time. I think
Guys, Highlander is so good.
have you guys watched Highlander recently?
Yes. Next question.
There can be only one. I would have been more hooked because to see what he was going through while she was going through something and to not lose that tether, I think would have been interesting to get both sides of those coins, which I know that episode is actually, I've listened to your podcast, not in the books, and I think that's why I think it enhances the character of Frank.
Yeah.
Frank is way more interesting.
I only
in the
led you there
series.
because I had the sense that was like in the first half of the first season was something that you were more interested in.
So it becomes more of a romantic costume drama in the first half of the season, and that is a genre that I have
not drawn to.
Yeah, I
in
have
general.
no interest in.
So it's more interesting to you when there is a male's perspective.
Well, but I don't think that's necessarily the case, right? I thought you were going to go there,
She's
but
just stirring up trouble.
I'm just
right,
fucking.
because
I'm just fucking around with the pot.
because we get plenty of Jamie's perspective in the costume
but
drama
not
section.
the same.
And I think he's talking about the tension between the person who's in the primary thrust of
Past
the
and
drama
the quote unquote present.
and the person who
I'm interested
and
in
the
their
person who
dynamic.
is left behind.
Yeah, I'm interested in
okay.
the dynamic as a married couple and
Yeah.
what that does because I think it is in one level incredibly sad and so affecting what happens to Frank as he struggles to find his wife that he knows would never leave him for another man, and he is convinced of that and he's the only one and fighting that fight versus Claire struggling to not die.
Because in some way,
On that base level, just not dying.
Frank's struggle is a more realistic it's more arresting to us in the present, right? The idea that someone would have a loved one disappear and not know what happened to them, but be certain of their relationship, like no doubt about the love between them, and that my loved one has disappeared, and I know they're out there somewhere. I have no there's nothing for me to do. I've exhausted my opportunity to try to discover what happened to the person I love.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we love each other. I hope that they're still out there somewhere. I hope that they're not dead.
Well, to me,
that struggle is very realistic.
Yeah, it heightens it from being a costume drama. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Squeak.
well, also too that during Neil's conversation with me and Kevin going, "What? You know me? You okay? Fine. Sorry, I'm drunk. Fucking old E." But also thinking too that Frank's story is much more condensed, right? So could you if you just turn the tables on that, right? Like, what if you saw a full season of Frank and those particular things, and it wouldn't be
going to the shitty cop's office every morning to get an update, and then going to get coffee, and then some woman in the coffee shop being sad and kind of falling in love with this sad widower, That's way more boring story, you guys.
I'm bored
It is actually. No, it is. And then but you'd have the reverse of trying to condense Claire's story into that, and oh my god, what would that be? That would be
oh, you couldn't.
It's just
Well,
it's
there's
just so intense to think about.
I think there's a reason that this book series, which is incredibly popular, has never been made into a movie, and it's because I think there's too much for a movie. You just couldn't. Imagine trying to adapt all 16 episodes in season 1 into 2.5 hours tops. You couldn't do it. You just couldn't. There would be, and there'd still have to be boning, so it would honestly be nothing but 9-second bean flicks.
Unbelievable.
If you don't want to know anything about season 3 at all, just hum yakety sax to yourself for a second. No, Julie, you're gonna be fine. You'll be fine. Kevin, it's based on what you just said, Neil.
Wait, am I humming yakety sax or what am I doing?
No, you're fine.
Just sit and listen.
I was talking to our listeners.
Be a grown up.
But I don't know anything about season 3.
I'm not going to spoil anything for you. You've seen the end of season 2.
People always tell me you're not going to spoil something. Then they tell me something that spoils something.
No, you've already seen
Ask your boyfriend.
Oh my god. So you've seen season 2, so you know that. Hey, if you just stopped humming yakety sax, so you expected we'd be done by now. I got foiled by 2 toads. I think I was trying to say trolls and turds at the same time. Troll turds. Anyway, go back to humming.
Madam, I am offended.
Stop. Go back to humming. It'll be fast. Anyway, because you've seen season 2, you know that I seriously can't concentrate with the yakety sax. Because you've seen season 2, you know that Claire ends up back in 1940, I think 8, when she gets back with Frank, and that Frank takes her back, and then they go to America. So I do not think it is spoiling you to say that in season 3 you get a lot of Frank.
I thought it was Canada.
Boston.
No, it's
He's going to teach at
America.
Harvard.
He's going to teach at Harvard.
It's you get a lot more of Frank and Claire, but just Frank in general in season 3.
Well, I'm never going to be bad about more.
Nope, me neither. Mazz forever. Okay, you can, if you just tune back in, it's okay. You don't have to hum yakety sax anymore. Julie, I'm going to fucking murder you.
What's the last
Anyway.
pillar? Are we on the fourth
No,
pillar?
that was, it's
the
only
fourth
3
pillar?
pillars.
You guys did it.
We made a pyramid. Do we use scales now?
We're going to do one scale. On a scale, and it's a classic of Ken Burns baseball to speed. Where does Outlander fall on the Ken Burns baseball to
Only
speed scale?
season 1, part 1.
Season 1, part 1.
Wait, I'm sorry. I need to understand this a little bit more. Where?
There's no understanding. There is just 2.
It's the most important
Great,
scale.
that's all I needed. Thanks. We're ready
Nope,
to go.
it's the most important scale. It's the how often do you get up to get a beer scale.
So between Ken Burns baseball, which maybe you would never get up and you would have to have a toilet in your lazy boy for
God,
that
I
one.
love baseball. Single ladies, I love baseball. And OE, hit me up on Twitter.
Hashtag Kevin's Tinder bio.
I think those are pretty good. I stand by those. jokes because some of them have actually appeared in my Tinder bio.
Scale.
Ladies, find
Janine
me
really
on
wants
Tinder.
us to wrap it up. Janine wants us to wrap it up. Let's go. Let's go.
Come on, bro.
The Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Cleopatra.
Nice. Good. All right. What
Because
about you?
that movie is long and there's a lot of bullshit in it, but then there are moments that are amazing.
Okay.
On a scale of baseball, which I
Ken
love,
Burns baseball.
which was hard to get through, and then and the dynamic motion picture Speed. How often would I stop this to walk away?
How engrossing is it?
How
Yes.
engrossing is it?
The outside world, like just going outside, is more engrossing than I think the first.
No, it has. It needs to
It
be.
needs to be a movie.
It needs to be a movie.
You could just
Kevin,
say
have
Ken
you ever
Burns
listened
baseball.
to this
Have you ever
podcast
listened to our
before?
podcast?
No,
it
I
can
haven't.
Be
I
whatever
don't.
movie.
I don't subscribe. I got called out for that before, but I.
But if you want to
Never
subscribe,
subscribed.
Stitcher, iTunes, it's all there.
You know what it
It's
is?
all there available to you.
Do you know what it is? It is the last action hero, where you think it's going to be interesting, and then it has 7 different endings, and none of them are satisfying. Oh my god. No, that's fine. All of those of you with ASMR, like, I apologize for Neil's terrible behavior.
Listeners, I need everybody to know that my husband finished his OE first.
Damn it. God damn it.
Lambert, get on it. We got to
Listeners,
finish this episode.
I'm a goddamn professional.
Oh, Janine, are you going to go for it? Come on, wrap it up. This is
Come
the
on,
end of the
Janine.
episode.
Oh,
it up.
wait, listeners, I just finished mine. So,
Kevin
I
finished his
and
first.
wait,
wait. Oh, it's like I'm in college again.
It's like you're playing Edward Fortune.
You're almost there.
Oh, he wants to die. He's going to do it. He's going to do it, though.
I changed my answer. On a scale
You're
of
fussing
Ken Burns
out.
baseball to Speed, the first season of Outlander is watching Aaron Pagel chug 6 ounces of OE.
Oh, look, he looks like he's going to throw
He
up.
hates everything and he
And
wants to do anything else. That's
With
how I
that,
feel.
with that, fair listeners, we are going to leave you for a short time. While you let at least a week of your life pass uninterrupted, we will temporarily go eat some snacks and be back. It's time travel. I'm Allison.
Episode 2, Julie, is always the more fun one.
And I'm Janine.
You know what's funny is she was trying to say episode 2 is always the more fun one, but then she inserted a parenthetical, which
And
instead she
Julie.
said episode 2, Julie is always the more fun one.
That's not what I meant, though. You guys knew what I meant.
It's my goddamn birthday tomorrow, Julie. Go
You
to
know
hell.
what I meant. You know what I meant.
5.